Hi, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. Got a little video here for you looking at some side lunges that we use in our yoga practice. So we're going to do a little bit of stretching to prepare the body for the side lunges, and then we will go through a few of the different lunges that we sometimes use in our yoga practice. So when you're ready, if you want to hop on the mat, make sure you're wearing something comfortable that you can move in easily. And there's no and. And just jump on the mat. Sitting however is most comfortable. So maybe legs crossed, maybe legs stretched out in front. Maybe kneeling is better. Whatever's best for you. So just sitting up nice and tall, and we'll lower the gaze or close the eyes for a moment. So taking a moment to really draw the awareness in. Notice how you're feeling. No judgment, no expectation, just awareness of how you feel in this moment. Letting that awareness settle onto the breath, and just following that flow of breath through the body. Breathing through the nose as best as you can. Thinking about deepening the inhale, lengthening the exhale. When we do side lunges in yoga, we're working on releasing the hips, working on that hip mobility. And sometimes when we work on those, you can get a little bit emotional. Bear with me on this one. In yoga, we say the hips are where deep-seated emotions are rooted. So sometimes when we do things that are hip opening, it can release those emotions. So maybe you'll do this practice and you'll be like, what is Freya even talking about? And you'll be absolutely fine. That's grand. Although you might do it and you find yourself getting a little bit emotional. That's also good. Whatever comes up, let it come up. This is a big part of our yoga practice, to accept things as they are. Trying not to attribute whether they are positive or negative. They just are as they are. But as always, practice ahimsa. It's your kindness to yourself. So if you do start to feel a little emotional, do what feels best. You can always come into child's pose and have a good cry. That always works for me. So when you're ready with an inhale, we're just going to sweep the arms out and up. With an exhale, turn the palms to face out, stretch into the space around. Inhale, reaching out and up. And exhale, stretch into the space around. Great, this time inhale, reaching up. And we're just going to twist to the right, so right hand down behind you. Left hand on that right knee, looking over the right shoulder. As always, if you feel like you're leaning back to reach the floor on the mat, then wrap the hand around the back of the waist instead. And inhale, center, reaching the arms up. And exhale over to the other side. Wonderful. Inhale, center, reach both arms up. And then exhale, draw the hands down to prayer in front of the heart. Lovely. Release the hands down onto the knees. We're just going to do some spinal flexes. So with an inhale, lift the chest, lift the gaze, squeeze the shoulder blades. And with the exhale, round the back, belly button towards the spine. So the inhale, lift the gaze, lift the chest. Exhale, rounding, drawing the belly button in towards the spine. And again, inhale. And exhale. And just once more, inhale. And exhale. Lovely, coming back to center. We're just going to bring the chin down towards the chest. Then with an inhale, bring the right ear towards the right shoulder. Chin down to chest. Left ear towards the left shoulder. Chin down towards the chest. So you're taking the head in a sort of pendulum motion from side to side. You should feel a nice stretch through the side of the neck, the back of the neck, and then to the other side. Lovely. So make sure you finish with the left side so you're even on both sides. Bring the head back to center. Draw the gaze back up. Lovely. Then we're going to go into cobbler pose. So soles of the feet coming together. Have a little wriggle. Make sure you are sitting well on your sit bones. And try and hold on around the ankles rather than the toes. I know it's quite easy when you go into this pose to just grab hold of the toes. The reason that we don't do that too much is because when you hold on to the toes, there is a habit to draw the toes up and sickle the feet, weakening the ankles a little bit. So if you hold on to the ankles instead, it just stops you from doing that. So once you're there, have a little move from side to side, maybe give the knees a little butterfly, help open up through the hips. Great. If you feel too much pressure in the knees or the hips, try having the feet a little bit further away from you. That can help. You can pop padding underneath the knees as well so they're supported so you don't get pain in the knees. We don't want pain in the knees. So if you're finding pain in the knees, it's probably because your hips are still a little bit tight. Or it could be just the way that your hips are built. We all are built slightly different, and especially when it comes to things like the hips. So if you find you sit down into cobbler pose and your knees are up here, and even when you try, you just find pain in the knees, then don't force it. Your hips are possibly just built that way, so the socket part of that ball and socket joint will have developed a little bit further round. So when you are trying to open up through the hip, try and explain it the best I can. So when you are trying to open up through the hip, the ball part of that ball and socket joint is just finding resistance against that socket bit, and that means that's your range of movement, and that's okay. You will still find a stretch. I'm sure we can still find you a stretch on the adductors, on the inside of the legs, but we don't want to force it. We don't want pain in the knees because the knees have to do a lot for us. So as I say, just pop padding underneath the knees and adapt it as you need to. Have the feet further away, or if you feel good, draw the heels a little bit closer in, trying to sit up nice and tall. If you like, from here you can take a little lean forwards using the elbows to help ease the knees a little bit further, and that moves us into a more passive stretch. So when we're sitting up, we're in an active stretch, so you're using your muscles to send the knees down. So this is a good one to do because you're engaging the muscle groups, you're using your muscles to move the knees down towards the mat. As we lean forward and use the elbows, we are coming into a more passive stretch. So when we come into this, it's important to really think about not forcing the knees. Because we're in that passive stretch rather than the active stretch, we can sometimes stretch a little bit further than our body maybe wants to. So just be really conscious of your body, listen to what it's telling you, and only ease a little way. Great. And then we'll come back up, straightening the spine, and we'll go straight into a wide-legged stretch. So take the feet out wide. Again, this will depend on your hips. So some people, the feet will just go out super wide naturally because that is how the hips are built. I am one of those people, and I'm very sorry. I know it can be a little bit disheartening when you see someone just very easily send their feet out to the sides. That's just how my hips are built. I have naturally outwardly rotating hips. Some people have naturally inwardly rotating hips. Some people are more to the neutral side. If you do have hips that are more towards the neutral or slightly inwardly rotated, you're probably better at things like running, anything where you need that piston motion of the legs. So there are pros and cons to everything. So if you can't sit like this really easily, don't worry. You know, you will probably be a lot better at other things that I'm not so good at. So, you know, just remember that. Everybody is different. However, we want to find the best way for you to sit in this straddle. So legs can be a lot further in. You can sit on the edge of a block or a blanket. We're just trying to sit up nice and tall and find that stretch through the adductors, so through the inside of the legs and into the hips. Great. Try and have your toes sending up towards the ceiling. So again, we're trying to have that active stretch rather than it being a passive stretch. So you're using your muscles, thinking about lifting up slightly over the knees so you're not collapsing the legs. From here, we're going to take a little reach towards the right ankle or foot. Left arm can either come onto that left hip, or see if you can reach up and over, finding a stretch through the left side of the body. Lovely. We'll come back to centre and then reach the left hand down the left leg, right hand coming either onto that right hip, right side body, or reaching up and over. Try and bring the shoulder down away from the ear. You might find it sort of squeezed up and you've shortened the neck. Try and bring it down a little bit so you're finding space in the side of the body, keeping the chest rotated towards the front. Great. Inhale, coming up to centre. This time we're going to turn over that right leg and walk the hands down that right leg. So just as far as you want to. So maybe that is literally just a couple of walks. And you're just turning towards that right foot. Or maybe you can see if you can bring the elbows down towards the mat. Again, your own body, just listen to what it wants to do. We're trying to find a bit of a twist through the spine in this one. Great. And walking back up to centre, we're going to turn to the other leg and walk the hands down the side of that leg. Again, stay where is best for you. Brilliant. We'll walk the hands back up towards you, coming back to centre. If you feel like the muscles have loosened off a little bit and you want to see if you can move a little bit deeper into that stretch, then shuffling yourself forward a little. Then we're going to have the hands down in front and walk those hands forward. So again, just as far as you want to, but think about rocking forward slightly on the sit bones. So it's quite easy with this one to rock back and round the back. And that just lessens the stretch a little bit. So try and tilt the pelvis forward, lengthen from the base of the spine. So the back doesn't have to be completely flat. In fact, I'd be amazed if any back was ever completely flat. But you're thinking about lengthening rather than folding. So really try and lengthen forward, and you'll feel a good stretch in the inside of those legs. If you can, the elbows can come down towards the floor. Or if you're feeling super flexible today, you can try and flatten yourself out on the floor. But you do you. Find whatever version is good where you feel a nice stretch. Maybe give the toes a little wriggle. Make sure you're not holding too much tension in the legs. And we'll just take one more breath here. Then walk the hands back up towards you. Take hold around the back of the knees, little rock back as you draw the legs in and sigh a breath of relief. That's what everyone does whenever I do that one in yoga classes. I hear everyone go, oh God, thank you. So, you know, you're in your own home. You can make as many groans and noises as you like. Lovely. So we're going to cross at the ankles, whichever ankle you want in front. And then we are going to see if we can stand up without using the hands. So do put the hands down if you need to, but if you can, shift the weight forwards and bring yourself all the way up. Lovely. Uncross the ankles, give the legs a little wriggle. Stand with the feet hip distance apart. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left, reach the arms out and up. Take hold of the right wrist with the left hand, and we're going to bend to the left. So creating that sort of banana shape with the body. Inhale, center. Swap the grip, swap the feet, and bending to the right. Lovely. Inhale, center. Release the hands, uncross the legs. Fab. We're going to go into a chair pose to strengthen the quads a little bit, because it's good to have nice strong quads when we are doing our side lunges. So to start off with, we'll have feet hip distance apart, hands on the hips. With an exhale, we're just going to bend into the knees, sit down on that imaginary chair. So weight is back towards the heels. Try and keep the chest lifted. So we're not folding over the legs. We're keeping the body fairly upright. Think about tucking the tailbone just slightly. So it's not a really big tuck, so you're rounding, but we're trying not to overarch that lower back. So just a little tuck. So there's a natural curve in the spine, into the lumbar spine. And that'll help you with that chair pose. Then we will straighten up through the legs. Give the legs a little wriggle. Fab. So for some of you, you might find it helps to have the heels on the edge of a book or a block. That can help you come down a little bit lower. See if I've got a block here. I know it certainly helps me because I don't have the sort of body proportions that make chair pose easy. So I find a block does help. So if you want to try with the heels on a block or a book, whatever you've got to hand, just something an inch or so is helpful. This time we'll take the hands to prayer, bend into the knees, coming down into chair. So for me, that just means I can get a little bit lower, work those quads a little bit more, keep the body a little bit more upright. Fab. Deep breath in. Exhale and straighten. Fab. Give the legs a little wriggle. So your choice. Stick with the block, or if you want to remove the block and have the heels down, then do. We'll just do one last one. This time we're going to mixed bring and draw the hands up together then. We're going to draw the arms up, palms facing, shoulders down. And then exhale, bend into the knees, coming into chair. So again, try and keep the chest lifted, keep the gaze lifted. Think about the legs. Try not to let the knees roll in towards each other. Try and keep the knees tracking forward. Great, then deep breath in. Exhale, straighten through the legs. Draw the hands down to prayer in front of the heart. Fantastic. So if you've still got your block, just removing your block. Take a big step out along the mat, facing the long edge of the mat. Feet parallel. We'll just do a quick forward fold. So hands onto the hips or in prayer in front of the heart. Little bend in the knees, and we're going to hinge forward from the hips. Release the hands down onto the mat or onto the legs. Walk the feet out a little wider if you need to. Great. Then we're going to come into our side lunges. So we will turn the right toes out just a little bit, keeping the hands on the mat. We're going to bend into that right knee, walk the hands over to the right foot, straightening through the left leg. So try and push into the outside edge of that left foot, lifting the instep. So you're really using that left leg, you're not just collapsing it down. And then we'll go on to the other side. So walk back through center, bend into that left knee, straighten through the right. So try and have the right toes facing the long edge of the mat, left toes slightly turned out. So if I get my body out of the way, as you can see, we're trying to keep everything engaged. So it's not dropping down, you're keeping everything working well. Great. Coming back through center again. Then we'll go over to the right again. This time, see if you can walk the hands a little bit further, bringing the body more in line with that right leg. Lovely. And then over to the other side. So right toes are facing the long edge of the mat. Left toes are turned out just around 45 degrees. Great. And then coming back through center. And this time we're going to turn those right toes out. We're going to bring ourselves a little bit lower because we're going to lift the toes of the left leg, turning those toes up towards the ceiling. So we're just changing that stretch a little bit. Well, not just a little bit, a fair amount. So that's working more into the mobility in the hips. So less into that stretch into the adductors. We're now moving into that mobility in the hips. Trying to bring yourself down a little low. Again, you can keep it higher if you need to. You can always lift the heel of the bent leg. And then we're walking over to the other side. Lifting the toes of that right foot. Toes up towards the ceiling again. You can lift that heel. You can have a block underneath the heel of the bent knee if you want. Great. And then again over to the right. This time if you want, see if you can lift the hands, bringing the hands up to prayer in front of the heart. And then if you're feeling it today, an extra little challenge is seeing if you can sit yourself down onto the mat in that side lunge and then coming back up using the muscles. If you can, keep the hands lifted and we're going to transition over to the other side. Again, seeing if you can do a little sit down and then bringing yourself back up. And then we're coming back to center. Great. Turning the feet to parallel. Having a nice forward fold in that wide legged stance. Maybe give the hips a little wriggle. Give the body a little wriggle. Have a nice ease out. Fab. Then heel toe the feet in a little, step towards the top of the mat, nice bend into the knees, sit yourself down onto the mat, not using the hands if you can, rolling all the way down, bringing yourself down to lying on your back. Lovely. So we've done a nice lot of hip opening there. So we'll just finish with a twist with the legs crossed. So you're drawing the hips back in towards each other now. So we're going to cross the right leg over the left leg. Arms up at shoulder height, elbows bent, palms facing up. And with an exhale, we're just going to take the knees over to the left. So you can shift the hips slightly towards the right if that helps. Gaze can either be up towards the ceiling or you can look over that right shoulder. Try and snuggle that right shoulder blade down on the mat. So if you find it's lifted, then just bring the knees back up a little bit or uncross the legs and stack the knees instead. Lovely. Then with your next inhale, we'll come back to center, uncross those legs, cross the left leg over the right leg, shift the hips a little bit to the left as you let the knees drop to the right. Gaze either up towards the ceiling or looking over the left shoulder. Again, try and snuggle that left shoulder blade down to the mat. Lovely. With your next inhale, coming back to center, uncross those legs, draw the knees in, maybe give the spine a bit of a rock. Lovely. And then rocking yourself up to sitting, or if you have time, going into a meditation or a breathing practice. But if that's all you have time for today, we will end the practice here. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me any comments below, like the video, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, let me know how you get on. So I know that there's people out there. And let me know if you have any questions for other videos or anything that you'd like to know a bit more about. I hope you enjoyed it. Om Shanti.